Hi, and welcome back to Extreme Trends. Google has given us the gift of many things, from being the go-to search engine for finding out a plethora of information to being a fully cemented household name. There seems almost nothing that Google can't do. When the multinational technology company launched the Maps feature in 2005, people around the world rejoiced. Not only could you now get directions without having to look at a paper map, you could also see the majority of the world without having to move from the comfort of your own home. But of course, some of the images captured raised eyebrows. From satanic symbols to crime scenes, let's take a look at 10 disturbing things found on Google Maps. As we begin, quickly tap the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss any amazing content. Number 10. Ariel Castro. Sometimes the most atrocious crimes happen in plain sight, hidden by bricks and mortar. Between 2002 and 2004, 3 young women mysteriously disappeared from Cleveland, Ohio. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus were all kidnapped by Puerto Rico native Ariel Castro, as he offered each a ride home when they were walking alone. He then lured them into his home on 2207 Seymour Avenue. He subjected the women to ruthless beatings, keeping them locked in upstairs bedrooms in squalid conditions until Barry was able to make contact with neighbors 10 years later in 2013. The contact led to her escape with her 6-year-old daughter she had while in captivity, and to the subsequent rescue of Knight and DeJesus. On Street View, the house was blurred out as if it wasn't there, although pictures of the 2-story torture chamber are available elsewhere. The property has since been demolished as part of Castro's plea bargain. Number 9. The Japanese Doll Village. Nagoro in Japan has developed into a strange tourist destination, quite extraordinary given that the population is just 40. The deserted town has other inhabitants, however, and they might give you nightmares. Ayano Tsumi makes life-size dolls that replace residents that have either passed on or moved away from Nagoro. Tsumi was born in the village, but later moved away to live in the country's 3rd largest city, Osaka. When she returned later in life, she was saddened to find the once 300-strong town near empty. When her father passed on, she created a scarecrow in his vision. Neighbors began talking to it as if it were real, prompting Tsumi to create more. According to her, making the dolls allows her to think of the dead when they were alive and healthy. Disturbingly, she claims they are like her children. With no actual babies being born in Nagoro now, it's a town on the verge of extinction. If you take a virtual stroll through it, you can see dolls waiting at bus stops and even fishing. I don't know about you, but I won't be putting this down on my must-visit list. Number 8. Get off my property. Out of all the places in the world to walk in, certain parts of Detroit are not where you want to go. Being the driver of a Google car can't be easy, especially when it comes to driving through territory that is home to gang wars and crime. Google captured images of a group of residents standing on the porch of a Detroit home. Although eventually Google blurred out the image, the original clearly showed one individual pointing a large gun at the car. Does Google pay their drivers enough to put themselves in the line of fire like that? I suspect not. In a dark twist, this is supposedly the same house in which a 17-month-old child was found dead a few months prior. After the image went viral when it was posted on a Reddit thread, readers soon wondered why the police weren't investigating into it due to the loss of the toddler around the same time. While authorities admitted pointing a firearm at anyone is a criminal offense, a formal complaint would have had to have been made for them to take it any further. Number 7. Childbirth. In 2010, we'd already seen some pretty awful things turn up on Maps. Now 5 years old. Horseboys, public nudity, and much, much more. However, one thing soon turned up that got tongues waggling more than any other. An image surfaced of a woman seemingly giving birth on a sidewalk in Berlin. The snap made headlines for its chaotic view, with the supposed mother sprawled out on the pavement and a gentleman calling an ambulance. While it was a good effort, it was soon debunked by several sources. No one took credit for the picture, but it's thought that it was the work of German artists. It wasn't the first time something was tampered with to shock the internet, and it certainly won't be the last. Still, it was a good effort. Number 6. The Almere crime scene. It's early morning in a solitary, scenic part of the Netherlands. The birds sing in the trees as they rustle in their nests, ready to wake up to catch their morning worms. The only sound is the thump of the body that is being dragged along the dock into the water. Or is it? This picture created a media frenzy when discovered on Reddit, with many speculating that the trail of red along the dock was blood from a dead body being dragged into the water to be disposed of by an unnamed assailant. The rumor mill went wild. Who was this person? More importantly, who was the victim? Turns out the concern was unfounded, as it was just a trail of water from an overexcited dog that jumped into the lake. The type of wood gives it a reddish tinge when wet. Bet you feel silly now, don't you? Don't worry, we do too. All's well that ends well though, right? Number 5. Blood Lake. The world has some beautiful things to offer. From the Great Pyramids to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, there are some sights that you just have to see before you shuffle off the mortal coil. Then there are things like Iraq's Blood Lake that you can never unsee no matter how hard you try. Just outside of Sadir City, Google's satellite picked up a ruby red lake, standing out like a sore thumb next to its normal green-watered neighbors. The internet community was intrigued, wondering why there was a giant reservoir of blood. Researchers said it was more likely that it was either chemically polluted or down to salt levels. That hasn't stopped some speculating that the locals use the water source as a place to butcher animals and discard the offcuts. With no official statement or reason released, the world at large can only guess the real reason for the most unusual color. Number 4. Cerne Abyss Giant. We've seen a woman giving birth, horror houses, and all manner of strange things so far. But are you prepared for the Cerne Abyss Giant? Made by cutting turf and filling the gaps with white chalk, the hillside figure resides just outside the village of Cerne Abyss in England. Rather than a nice portrayal of a flower or something less offensive, the Cerne Abyss Giant is a depiction of a naked man holding a club and letting it all hang out. While we don't know the exact date this wonder was created, it is often thought as an ancient construction, with mentions in literature and records going as far back as the 17th century. The academic community disputes its meaning, with some believing it's Greek and others thinking it's Celtic or Saxon. Regardless of why it's here, the giant has become an important part of English folklore, often attracting high numbers of visitors. One thing's for sure, the satellite certainly got an eyeful of this one. Number 3. Crabzilla. You've heard of the Loch Ness Monster, a giant being that supposedly lurks in a lake in Scotland. But have you heard of Crabzilla? In 2014, aerial pictures appeared to show something truly terrifying at the end of a dock in the seaside town of Whitstable, Kent. The town is usually bustling with holiday makers in its summer seasons, but this time, they flocked to try and catch a glimpse of the 50-foot mega crab. The outline of the crustacean lurking at the end of the pier makes the fishing boats look tiny in comparison. The image was brought to the attention of Quinton Winter, who posted it on his website Weird Wishtable. At first, he thought it was just sand, but soon became convinced it was some sort of sea horror. Winter also claims to have seen the crab for himself as he was fishing with his son near the water one day. With terrifying eyes and claws big enough to crush a man, it far surpasses the biggest crustacean on record, the 12-foot Japanese spider crab. There's no definitive proof that this is real, but an eyewitness account and a seemingly true photograph is a good start. Number 2. Scientology Bunker. If there's one thing the world knows for sure, it's that the Church of Scientology is really odd. With rumors surrounding their practices and high-profile members such as Tom Cruise, it's a hotly debated religious sect. In a remote part of the New Mexico desert, there is a building that leads to an underground vault next to 2 large symbols carved into the ground. This is supposedly for Scientologists to find their way back when the end of the world happens and humanity is destroyed in years to come. Yeah, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? Followers believe that when they are sent to space following a nuclear disaster, the symbols will lead them back to the precious texts of founder L. Ron Hubbard so they can continue their work. It's a harrowing sight straight out of a movie, only this is all real. Before, we could only see grainy satellite pictures of the property, but thanks to ever-advancing technology, we can now see every detail. Number 1. Pentagram. We saved the best until last with this one. A few years ago, an enormous pentagram was found etched into the ground in a deserted region of Kazakhstan, just west of the city of Lysychansk. This is no tiny scribble in the dirt. It has a circumference over 1,000 feet wide. Inside the circle is a very straight, very calculated, and mathematically correct pentagram. Theories abound about why this symbol, most commonly used in ritualistic dark magic, is just casually hanging around. Some people believe that this is a site for Satanists to congregate and perform sacrifices, while others insist it's more likely far innocent than it looks. At one point, you were able to zoom in on the pentagram on Google Maps, and it would pop up with 2 location tags, Lucifer and Adam. If that doesn't give you the creeps, I don't know what will. Soon after people started discovering this, Google disabled the zoom option for this area. Coincidence? Conspiracy? The end of the world? You decide. Have you ever spotted something disturbing while looking up on maps? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And if you can't get enough of extreme trends, then check out these 2 videos on the screen. With that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Technology company launched the Maps feature in 2005, people around the world rejoiced. Not only could you now get directions without having to look at a paper map, you could also see the majority of the world without having to move from the comfort of your own home. But of course, some of the images captured, raised, were all kidnapped by Puerto Rico native Ariel Castro, as he offered each a ride home when they were walking alone. He then lured them into his home on 2207 Seymour Avenue. He subjected the women to ruthless beatings, keeping them locked in upstairs bedrooms in squalid conditions. Ariel Castro. Sometimes the most atrocious crimes happen in plain sight, hidden by bricks and mortar. Between 2002 and 2004, 3 young women mysteriously disappeared from Cleveland, Ohio. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus eyebrows. From satanic symbols to crime scenes, let's take a look at 10 disturbing things found on Google Maps. As we begin, quickly tap the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss any amazing content. Number 10. Hi, and welcome back to Extreme Trends. Google has given us the gift of many things, from being the go-to search engine for finding out a plethora of information to being a fully cemented household name. There seems almost nothing that Google can't do. When the multinational tech